Good morning to day 22 of our beach house build. We had a storm and thunder and lightning and all sorts last night, which apparently is not normal for here this time of year, so let's soften things up a little bit. It is actually later today for me to check in. It's 20 past 9 as we speak. The carpenter is up there making formwork, some of the boxes, which I'll show you in a second, and these guys are rectifying their costly mistake of not measuring the floor. We've technically got to take the footings down by 6 inches in order to make sure that they're flush, and then the next stage is going to be having to take out the actual floor as well, because otherwise that will eat into the depth of the slab. So I found out yesterday, which is I suppose a learning curve that people can learn from at my expense. We spent a lot of time, as you know, and money putting this slab in. So this is basically marl, M-A-R-L. They literally place it down, wet it, roll it, compact it, next layer, next layer. So we've got quite a large amount of marl in here. I think in total we've got about 30 odd loads of about 12 square meters. Huge amounts. Probably best part of 25,000-30,000 Bajan dollars. And then what they're doing here is they're actually laying out the shuttering for the footings. So they're 10 inches, they'll be full of concrete, and that's technically what the block walls will be built up from. And then you see gaps in between. This is where support columns will be. So the footings will continue, but there'll be boxing coming probably out here, for instance, and back again, where a column will sit. So this is I call it the south side of the house. It's actually northeast, but it's facing the beach. So it's the southern part of the house. And basically this is going to be bifolds all the way along here. So there's a post, doors, post, doors, post, doors, 4 sets of doors along here. So as you can see, each one of these elements is going to allow having concrete poured straight onto the marl. Now yesterday what I discovered was that they actually thought that they were going to now fill this with more marl. Once they've been poured in concrete, they were going to fill this with marl up to that 10 inch, and then a slab would go over the footings and the marl. And I was just like, surely this cannot be true. Why would we waste yet another 10 inches of basement height? It just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I spoke to the engineer last night and he confirmed that's not what we should be doing. We should be literally making sure that this slab itself is as level as possible, and then the concrete should be going on top of that. Now the downside to that is the concrete slab is meant to be 8 inches. So if you make a point finger, if this is 10 inches and the slab's going to be 8 inches, then obviously from the footings you're going to have a slight drop. So on this floor we're going to have to put, the first thing that happens is pest treatment. So termite treatment, which is about 3,000-4,000 Bajan. Thank you very much. Then a waterproof membrane goes down, which will go along and come up and over the footings. Then the concrete and rebar will be poured onto the floor. So technically you'll end up having a concrete slab sitting on a treated surface with a water membrane to stop the damp coming through. Whether we can actually waterproof that properly and stop water coming through is another matter. One, we're on the water table, which you've obviously seen the previous videos, the big swimming pools we had. We're on the water table, number one, and number two, this is a flood zone, so water does come down the road and congregate at the end of this property. So as you can see where we are now, to give you an example, we're now in the basement and you can see where the road is. So if it floods, then it floods a foot above the road, and we're, as you can see, 4 foot into the hole. So that water runs down here and congregates at this end, and obviously then tries to come in here. So we're going to have to make sure that all of this here is waterproofed all the way along, both inside and out, and also the floor is, because obviously the water's going to want to come up through the floor. So waterproofing is going to be absolutely key here. Unfortunately, it's something that hasn't even been discussed yet, so it does make me a bit nervous that everything gets left to the last minute. There's no planning. So we need to get that sorted, because we need to make sure that that is being pre-planned now, because we're at the stage now where we're actually shuttering out and starting to get ready to pour for Monday. These guys, I'll show you what they've been doing for the last 2. Rectifying a very expensive mistake. Measuring and making sure that you're on target for height is essential, because obviously if you've got an 8-foot slab and in that is rebar, you have to have a 3-inch gap between the floor and the rebar and the top. Otherwise salt can get through and rust the rebar. So if we land up having that surface 8 inches and it increases by height here by 6 inches, then we've got a very, very drunk floor, or steel that's pretty much very close to the surface, which means it won't last, it'll blow. So they're now on my tab having to dig out something because they didn't check the footings and the levels properly, which is bloody annoying and bloody expensive. That's so far the plan for the day, trying to make sure I'm not tripping up on these fishing wires everywhere. The carpenter obviously is making sure he's cutting the actual shuttering and first fix elements to size, so I can't hear because of the wind. And then we're then going to be changing some of the actual support elements as well to ensure that rather than having block walls through the basement, we're going to have pillars. So that's another thing we're going to do. So I'm trying to pin down both the site manager and the engineer to ensure that we can get that clarified and clear, so the guys can actually get on with doing what they need to do. Otherwise they can start building formwork relevant to something that we don't actually need or want. So that's the morning so far, so I'll check in a little bit later on. Very slow day, unfortunately. Unfortunately found more spaces where they're out on the measurements and are now having to cut out even more. So we've not actually progressed a great deal today, actually. So the footings here by the columns are nearly finished. This wood was going to be run right through, but they've now had to dig out all of that, which also means they have to dig out the slab behind it, and they've had to dig out all of that. And they've had to return that all the way down there. And they've also had to dig that all out over the other side as well. You can just see it. So technically, if this slab was at height, we'd be laying this down by now, nailing it in place, ready for the rebar to go in and the concrete to be filled. But instead, the rebar guys turned up this morning, saw that we were a million miles away, and turned around and went back. The rebar boys are quite a different breed. They literally got things smashed out. It's like the UK steel fixers. They just get shit done. But when they turn up and see it this sort of state, they're like, we're too early. So the chances are they'll come tomorrow if we can try and get any form of momentum, which at the moment doesn't look like we're going to. But it is the same, they say measure twice, cut once. Anyway, we could measure a little bit quicker, cut a little bit quicker, and we might actually get some more things done. So yeah, not great. Like I said, it's pretty much looking like this at this present time. Tuesday day tomorrow. And this side is looking like that. So again, by now that should have been done. We literally are pretty much where we are now on Monday. We're now Thursday. So another wasted week on get forward to the end of the day. It's only 10 to 4. So just to finish off the day, I've just dropped the guys down to the bus. I'll turn it around. Run. So he's actually obviously started boxing out here for what would be the pillars. There's going to be 3 main pillars on the front. So they'll be boxed in as well. There'll be pillars over there, and there'll be pillars in the middle as well, which we need to obviously box out on their own. So this will be poured on Monday, basically, so that we've got tomorrow and Saturday and some of Monday to get this completely finished. And then apparently they're going to come in and scrape the middle after they've done the footings, which I find completely insane, but that's the way they want to do it. So I'd have physically scraped it out now before we laid. And then that way you've got everything done, you lay it, you pour it, and then you pour the slab at the same time. But we shall see how it goes. Anyway, another day that was pretty much rectifying some work that we didn't get right in the first place, which is a shame because it's just a waste of time and money. But anyway, it's one of those things done. Tomorrow's another day. Fingers crossed we can get a bit more productivity done tomorrow. I think the project manager's coming here first thing in the morning to do some measuring out of levels and stuff like that to ensure that we don't have a bigger problem we thought we had. But other than that, tomorrow's another day.